Welcome to another video on English grammar. Also, I welcome all of my subscribers and people who are happily watching my videos to another video on verbs. Now, in this video, I'll be giving a detailed study of the verbs. Now, if you see, verbs are divided. Verbs are mainly divided into finite verb and non-finite verb. Now, finite verb is divided into principal verb, linking verb, auxiliary verb. Non-finite verb is divided into infinitive, gerund, and participle. Now we are going to see what is the difference between finite verb and non-finite verb. Already we have seen that finite verb is verb and non-finite verb is infinitive, gerund and participle. Now according to definition, a verb which shows time or that means tense, a verb which is limited by the number, that means plural or singular, or gender of the subject is known as finite verb. On the contrary, non-finite verb is not influenced by time or limited by singular or plural person or even by the tense of the subject or gender of the subject, whatever it may be. If you differentiate it, you can see finite verb forms act as a verb. Non-finite verb forms do not act as a verb in the sentence. Finite verb act as the main verb of the sentence or a clause. Non-finite verbs act as nouns, adjectives and adverbs. So they take their positions. Finite verb indicates number, person and tense. Non-finite verbs do not indicate any of these things: person, number or tense. Finite verbs are used in the present tense and past tense, or that may be they are used in tense. Whereas non-finite verbs are neither affected by, not at all affected by tense. They are just infinitive, gerunds and participles. So that is the main difference between them. Now we are going to see the principal verb is divided into two types: action verbs and non-action verbs, or action verbs and stative verbs. From the word itself, you can understand that action verbs refers to action. Run, play, drink, jump. They are all concrete actions. Whereas stative verbs are referring to states: hate, love, believe, contain. All these are examples of stative. So you have to understand there are two types of principal verbs. Now we are going to see about action verbs. Action verb is also known as the main verb, principal verb and lexical verb. Same name only, given in different names. Okay, they are same: principal verb, main verb or lexical verb. All has the same meaning. All these types of verb talk about what subject is doing in the sentence. Action verb are one of the most easily identified types of verbs in each English grammar, or that means you can identify it very easily. To identify or recognize these verbs, we simply have to look at the words in the sentence that answer the questions in the sentence. What is the subject doing? This is a simple question you ask, you can see the action verb in. Rose is painting the kitchen walls. What is Rose doing? She is painting. So that means the answer. So painting is an action verb because the action is done by Rose. There are two kinds of types of action verbs in English grammar. One is transitive verb and intransitive. So what is transitive verb? Transitive verb are such kind of verbs in which action verbs have a definite object on which or for which the action is performed. So there is action verbs are two types, but here you can see the action is performed on something. Not only just action, it is performed on something. That means action is performed on a definite object. The transitive verb is a verb that requires an object to receive action. That is the meaning of it. Or a verb that has an object. To identify them, you have to ask the question, what is the object being affected by the verb? Miriam borrowed methodology book from her classmate because she forgot. Can you bring the copy of the test book to study the group meaning? So here you can see two sentences are given. So in this sentence, you can see that there is, you cannot find any action. Miriam borrowed the methodology book from her classmate because she forgot her copy. Can you bring your copy of the test book to our study group meeting? So here Miriam borrowed something. What she borrowed? The methodology book. Okay. So that is the object. The methodology book was borrowed by Miriam. Okay, that is the object of this sentence. So you can see the object is there, perfect object is there, and that forms the transitive. So borrowed is a transitive verb. Can you bring your copy of the textbook to our study group meeting? What she should bring? Your copy. Your copy of the textbook. Okay, so that is the object of that sentence, and so bring is also a transitive verb. So I hope you understood about the transitive verb. Now we are going to see a little bit about action verb and stative verbs. So action verbs describe, already we have seen action verbs are of two types, transitive and intransitive. Okay, we'll see intransitive later. Already have seen transitive, that is it has an object. Now what is action verb? What is it? There are two types of verbs. One is action verbs, which we have already seen, and the second one is stative verbs. That means it is in a state. Action verb describes actions we take or things that happen. Stative verbs describes states, no action. They refer to the way things are or the state of the things, appearance, state of the being. So stative verbs you cannot use in the continuous form because it is continuous action. Solely an action verb can be transitive verb, but in some cases a verb which is used as a stative verb with one meaning as a dynamic or action verb in stative verb can be used as a dynamic verb or an action verb. Another word for action verb is dynamic verb with another meaning. So here is an example given. The baby feels wet. The mother felt the diaper off to see if it was wet. The diaper was felt. You can see that. So action stative verbs can also be used in the passive form. So we'll see that later. Active passive will be taking, but transitive verbs has passive form. Intransitive don't have. So here we are not going to study about active passive and all. We are just seeing the transitive and intransitive verbs. Okay. So I already have seen transitive verbs are verbs which has got an object, and intransitive is a verb which don't have an object. In between we are studying about stative and action verbs. Action verbs and stative verbs both can be can be have used as what do you call as in transitive verbs or in intransitive verbs. Okay, now stative verbs are having what are stative verbs? And they are not used in continuous form. So you can see there's the feelings. There are so many feelings like, dislike, love, hate, prefer, want. These are our feelings. Then thoughts and opinions you can use. Know, think, understand, believe. These are suppose, doubt, remember, forget, agree. And sometimes senses, stative verbs. Feel, hear, see, smell, sound. These are for coming out of our senses. Then possession, belong, own, have. All this can be used only as stative verbs. But you can just change it also into dynamic action some cases. Okay. And then measure, cost, measure, weigh, owe, see, be, appear, consist. But these can be used in stative verbs. But sometimes if you use it in another way, some of this can go into action verbs also, as you have seen in the last example I've given about the baby. Okay, so that is the just in between I've shown you about as action verbs and stative verbs. Now we're going to see a little more about action, so just you can just identify them. She does walk here, it's an exercise, and you can also find it out. Okay, now she doesn't eat breakfast, she doesn't eat meat. It's an action. Okay, so it is a action verb. It has an object. She doesn't eat what? Meat. Are you having breakfast? Here also having and breakfast is the object, and it is an action also. They have a nice boat. Something is there, nice boat. Have, it's a state. Okay, okay, they have a nice boat they are doing, so it's a state. Have a nice boat. I like playing, so like is also a feeling. Do you need anything? State verb. Okay, then again the medication contains caffeine, it's also a state. I often go to the cinema, it's also action verb, but it's an intransition. Okay, where are you going? So it's also an action verb. You going. So that is also an intransitive. Sometimes action verbs have. So you have seen action verb and static verbs. There are two types. Action verbs can be transitive as well as intransitive. Static verbs are different types. Sometimes they can be used as action verbs, and it can be only that I referred it here is to make you understand the difference between action verb and stative verbs. Okay, so that is all about action verbs and stative verbs. So coming, we're going to see about direct object and indirect object. Already we have seen about static verb and action verb, and we have seen that only static verbs also can be having object sometimes, some cases, if it is used as a dynamic verb. But a dynamic verb can be of two, or action verbs can be of two types. That is having that is transitive or intransitive. Already I have seen transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are verbs which has got an object. Okay, it has got an object, but some cases it has got two objects, and that is why there are two objects. One is the direct object and the other one is the indirect object. So here is an example. Daniel gave his son a laptop. Okay, here you can see there are two objects here. One, Daniel is a subject, gave is the verb, his son is an object, and laptop is also an object. The indirect object is his son and the direct object is laptop. Why is it? Why is his son an indirect object and laptop a direct object? Because how you can identify, you can make it using a prepositional phrase. You can add a preposition in this sentence and change it. Daniel gave a laptop to his son. So that is it. So whichever you can change it with a preposition is the indirect object. To his son is the indirect object and laptop is the direct object. So what you mean is that in transitive verbs sometimes have two objects. One will be direct object and another one will be indirect object. In English, an indirect object may come between a transitive verb and a direct object. Like the first example about Daniel, or the indirect object could be in the form of a prepositional phrase like in the second sentence where you can change that sentence by using a preposition like the second example of Daniel. An indirect object only needed if the action is being done to or for somebody when using transitive verb. You need to include direct object, but you may not need to include an indirect object. Okay, so means you can just say the sentence or change it. For example, Daniel gave a laptop to his son. Okay, so that is an indirect object is only needed if the action is being done to for somebody. That in that case only it is. When using transitive verb, you need to include a direct object, but you may not need to include an indirect object. It's not necessary. Daniel gave a laptop. It's understood. But then if it is very necessary, to his son. That is the case of indirect object because it's not very necessary. But direct object is necessary. Now we are going to see the difference between transitive verb and intransitive verb. Transitive verbs have a definite object on which, for which the action is performed. Already we have seen that transitive verbs has got object and in some cases two objects also. Here is another example. Rose is painting the kitchen walls. What is she painting? The kitchen walls. So it's an object there, the kitchen walls. Hannah gave him a big hug. So here again you can see double object. Gave what? To whom? Then Hannah gave a big hug to him. Okay, there also you can see double object. Now intransitive verb also show action, but there is no specific object. Okay, now you see the same sentences are changed. Rose on which, or there is no specific object on which the action is being done. No object on which the action is done. There is no object of action, then you say it is an intransitive verb. Same verb, painting, but here Rose is painting right now. There is no object there. Or if you want to change it, you can say Rose is painting the wall right now. Then it becomes object. Okay. Rose is painting right now, there is no object. Rose is painting the wall right now, there is object. Hannah sees repeatedly. Sneeze repeatedly. Okay. Hannah sneezed repeatedly. So that there also you can see there is no object there. So the verb that doesn't have an object, you call it as an intransitive. So we are going to see a little more detail about intransitive. An intransitive verb does not take an object. Already we have understood that. However, there may be other information after the verb, such as one prepositional phrase or an adverb. In this case, painting, there is an preposition, adverb is there. To recognize these verbs, we ask the question, what or who is the object of being affected by the verb? There is no answer present in the sentence. We can say the verb in the sentence is an intransitive. So you have to ask this question, what or who to the verb. And if you get an answer, for example, Rose is painting the wall. What is she painting? Answer is there. Rose is painting the wall. The what is the answer. Now, in the other case, now we hear Rose is painting right now. Who, what? There is no answer coming up, and that is why here painting is an intransitive. So I hope you understood about intransitive verb. Now you can see some more examples where you can see transitive and intransitive. Same verbs are used, but they are used as transitive, and in the case they are used as intransitive. They are all action verbs. I did like to speak with you. Let's speak. Okay, let's speak. So I would like to speak with you. Object is there with you, and here let's speak for a few hours, for a minute, whatever it is. No object is there. Now we are reading your new book. We are reading. There's no object there in the second sentence, but in the object, your new book is the object there. So it is transitive. It cancelled the reservation. What she cancelled? Reservation. It cancelled. So if you don't give an object, it suddenly becomes an intransitive. I agree with you. I agree. No transitive. Not transitive. It is intransitive. We count on her assistance. That counts. Okay. We count on what? Her assistance. So here is the difference between transitive. I hope you understood very clearly about transitive and intransitive verb. So we have seen a series of things. We have seen about different kinds of verbs. We have seen action verbs, static verbs. We have seen transitive action verbs. Then we have seen transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. So we are going further. We will see more about. Now here are some more examples. Mary has changed her. Okay. So here again the object is there here, and the area changed greatly in the last decades. There again no object is there, intransitive. Close your eyes. Close what? Your eyes. Most shops here close at 5:30. What close? Nothing. So no object there. Open the window. Open what? The window. The museum opens at 10 a.m. No object there. What opens? Nothing opens. But the museum is opening, but object is not there. Have you done your coursework? Your coursework is the object. I is doing well. I is doing what? Nothing. We don't know. In his new job, it is there, but no object is there. So Kate set a chair next to bed. So there you can see a chair is the object of the set. The sun was setting and a red glow filled the sky. Setting what? Nothing. Or sun was setting, who? Nothing. So no answer there. Michele used to run a restaurant, run what? The path, run over the hill. What, who? No answer in the second one. So intransitive. Our cat lived till he was 10. Our cat lived till he was 10. Who lived? What lived? What lived till he was 10 is the answer. He was living a life luxury behind. Now write your name. Write what? Your name. Kevin couldn't read or write. So there is no answer there. So you can see a lot of examples here. Now primary auxiliaries. Now we are coming back to the second group. And helping verbs. So there are two types, helping verbs and linking verbs. So there you have to understand they are just linking verbs. Auxiliaries can be linking verbs are there, and also auxiliary verbs. That is the difference I have given in the beginning. But linking verbs are just linking. I am a teacher. Here, what is the verb here? I am, and it just connects there. Link to, I link to the teacher. So that is the linking verb. But I am teaching grammar. I am teaching grammar. So here you can see am is helping. Helping. teaching. Okay, there is the helping verb. So that is the difference between I am a teacher, I am teaching grammar. So these two sentences are what is happening in reality now. But one is am is used as a linking verb. In the second case, it is used as a helping verb. So now we are going to see in detail. So I think you understood about the difference between linking verb and helping verb. So whatever helps a main verb, we call it as the helping verb. Both are auxiliaries, and auxiliaries, linking verbs and auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are helping verbs, okay? Auxiliaries, added verbs. Okay. Uh, Now there are auxiliary verbs can be mainly common auxiliaries are be family verbs, then do family verbs, and then have family verbs. Okay, be family verbs. Now first is do, does, or did. We'll do all these things in detail in another, but now we'll see. Do is common, forming questions, making negative. Does is also using the same thing. Does also we use for questions and negatives we use, and did is the past tense of this. So whenever we want to use it, we use it for framing questions and negatives. That we'll see later when we study further grammar. We'll see the use of these do, does, and did. But now you understood they are helping verbs. They are auxiliary verbs. Okay. Now, you can see the be family verb in detail. I'm going to give you a good idea about be family verb. Okay, now see what are the be family verbs. Now, see here, am, is, are, was. This all belong to, and be, being also comes in the be family verb. Okay, be verbs indicate the state of being. I'm a teacher. She is a teacher. Okay, or they are teachers. My friend was a teacher. Now he has retired. Okay, like whatever it means. So these being verbs indicate a state of being. When I'm using that, it can be a linking verb also. It can be a helping verb also. I am teaching. I already have made that clear, made the difference clear. Be can be used as an auxiliary verb or a main verb in the sentence. That is when it is a linking verb. It is a linking verb, it is a main verb in a sentence. But when it is a helping verb, it's an auxiliary verb. Okay. Be verbs are am, are, is, was, were, been, being. Okay. I have not given in the heading been and being. It tells us that an action is happening now or going to happen in the future when it is used in the tense. Okay, when you are using continuous forms, you use future actions or happening now, or maybe uh, every action can be referred by that. Be is also used to make passive, been and being, passive voice. We use it more. Been, being, okay, and even be. Are is used for they and we, that is plural. Was is used for the past tense of am and is. Okay, and where is used for the past tense of you, we, and they, or the past tense of was. Okay, so that is all about be family verbs. So you know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 are there. That is am, is, are, was, were. Okay, now we come to the next group of verbs, that is the have, and have, has, had. Okay, have and has are present tense verbs and can sometimes used as to show possession. I have a pen, or she has a kid. Okay, have is used with some pronouns and plural nouns, while has is used with third person singular. Now she has a great personality. I have a great English teacher. They have a nice uh, they had a they have performed nicely. Okay, that is okay. They have a big group. They have a big group. Okay, they. So there you can see plural is used there. So have is used for some pronouns or plural, while has is used for third person singular. He has a good umbrella, whatever it means. Have is used to make present perfect tense. That is another use of have. Has is used for third person singular. Had is used the past tenses, especially in past perfect tense, or the has the past tense of these things. She had a great English teacher, now no more. Okay, that is it. It describes an action that began in the past and continues in the present, or that occurred in the recent past. Had. Or this you see when we are studying more about tenses. Have to is used as a modal verb also. Okay, in that case, I have to wash my car today. So that is the examples of use of I have. So we have seen auxiliary verbs. We have seen the linking verbs, and we have also seen about the helping verbs. So two types of auxiliary verbs are there: linking verbs and auxiliary or helping verbs. And in linking verbs, they are just main verbs in that sentence, but when they are auxiliary verbs, they are just helping the main verbs in the sentence. Okay, or we call it as the helping verb. So in the beginning, we have seen that there are two types of verbs: finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs can be of primary principal verb, or it can be linking verb or auxiliary verb. So we have seen about primary principal verbs. There can be of two types: static verbs or dynamic or action verbs. Now we have also seen that it can be it can also have the prime the auxiliary the prime auxiliary verb, and then it can be having the helping verb, or it can also have the linking verb. The primary the verb can be of or the finite verb can be of three types. That is the principal verb, which can be of static verb and or action verb, and action they can be of transitive and intransitive also. Then you have seen about the primary auxiliary verb, and auxiliary verb can be or linking verb. Auxiliary verb is when they are helping verbs, and linking verbs when they are independent and standing in the sentence as main verb. So that is what we have seen. Now we are coming to another very important group of verbs, and they are called as modal auxiliary verbs. Okay, why they are called as modal auxiliary verbs? Because these verbs change the mood of the sentence completely. They facilitate the main verb for suggesting potential, expectation, permission, ability, possibility, obligation. They change the mood of the sentence. Modal auxiliary verb gives meaning when used in the sentence. It's a verb that is used with another verb to express the mood or tense. Not the tense of the sentence, mood of the tense. What is the modal auxiliary verbs are mean tense doesn't mean the tense, the change of the tense. It is just the mood. Modal auxiliary verbs are easy to use because they never change the form of, but see here, they never change the form or the tense of the sentence, because you don't worry about the tense of it. You just use it because it changes the mood only of the sentence, not the tense of the sentence. Modal verbs help when speaking about ability, making request, offers, asking permission, and more. Modal verbs in English differ from other verbs because they are not used separately and do not indicate specific action or state, because they are not independent verbs. They have to be with the main verb. They change the mood of the main verb. They just reflect the modality the attitude of the speaker to the action. Understand? What kind of an action? What mood of the speaker? Now you can see the example. These are the modal verbs, and examples are also given. Can shows ability, suggestion, request. He find any street. He can find any street in London. That's his ability. You can take a taxi. Okay, that is a suggestion. Can you take me to Victoria Station? It's a request. So can, three forms you have been. Be able to is also shows your ability. He is able to find any street in London. Can't shows inability, that something is impossible. The story can't be true. Could shows ability, request, and suggestion. But in the past form, I could play tennis when I was younger. Could you take me to Victoria Station? That is a request, very polite request. You could take a taxi. That is a suggestion. That is a suggestion, but it is all. May is its possibility or a formal request or a permission. May I come in is a very formal request. If it may be quicker to travel by train, possibility. It might be quicker to travel. That is less possibility. It might be quicker to traveling by train. Must is showing obligation. Certainly that something is true. Look at the snow. It must be cold outside. You must be back by 10 o'clock. It's an obligation. Have to, you have seen that have to when we study have. It's also an obligation. Need to is also obligation. You need to come, you have to come. You need in to come is lack of obligation. You need in submit your books. Must in, that is prohibition. You mustn't drive without license. Okay. Don't have to, you don't have to call a taxi, lack of obligation. You should drive more carefully, that is opinion or advice. Ought to is also opinion and advice. You ought to drive more carefully. You can see all these verbs change the mood of the speaker or the subject in the sentence, or the verb or mood also is changed. Now we are in the beginning I told you about linking verbs and helping verbs. So now you're going to see what are the linking verbs and what are the helping verbs. Is, am, are, was, were, seems, becomes, feels, appears, be, been, be. Have been to Chennai. I'm being called regularly. Whatever it means. So you can see these verbs can stand independently. So they are in the sentence, they always appear, they can also perform as a main verb of the sentence. But these verbs also can perform main verbs like is, am, are, was, were, have, had, does, do, does, did. Okay. And then you can see all these all these helping verbs. Okay, hey, that is can, will, shall. These are all, you can see the model of auxiliaries. Okay, all these can be performed as and being, they also can be used as helping verbs, especially in passive voice. You have seen they are used as helping verbs. So now I think you are very much clear about linking verbs and helping verbs. Okay, helping verbs are also auxiliary verbs. Okay, so it's very clear about all these things. Now we come to the second group, that is a non-finite verb. Is a verb form that does not show any tense. Therefore, non-finite verb is never the main verb in a sentence. They cannot be used. They just are non-finite. They are gerunds, participles, and infinitives. They doesn't do the function of a verb. Gerunds all end in ing, skiing, reading, dancing, singing. Gerunds act like nouns and can serve as subject or object of the sentence. Sometimes reading a book is good, okay, or dancing is a good pastime, whatever it may be. Okay. Now a participle is used as an adjective. Sometimes non-finite verb can be an adjective or adverb. The past, the present participle, ing. past participle form, singing, raising, all these things. We are using it in the past participle form. The past participle typically appears like the past tense, but some have different forms, like that is the written, sung, raised. Okay, past participle and present participle both are there. Both are also gerunds. Okay. Now infinitive, they are also non-finite verbs. So these are the non-finite verbs which we have seen. So these are, you have seen that they cannot never stand as not. Now here is an example. Non-finite verbs do not change the form or even the person, the number, subject, nor the tense of the sentence. They want to eat something delicious. She wants to eat something delicious. No change there. They wants to play football. They want to play football. They want to eat eggs for breakfast. Whatever way you change to eat remains the same because they are never affected by the tense of the sentence. They are not affected by the number of the person of the sentence. They are not affected by anything in the sentence. They are just uh, in non-finite verbs. Okay. Now, here is an example. Non-finite verbs are adjectives, gerunds, and adverbs. You are going to see in this sentence. It's dangerous to drive on the street. You can see it's an infinitive there. We are ready to play now. So again, infinitive. I felt difficult to comprehend. Again, infinitive. Main verb be also there, also already there in the sentence. Felt. We ate a lot of roasted meat. Again, participle, but it serves the function of a adjective. I have completed the given task. Again, adjective. I do not drink boiled water. Again, adjective. Robert is most wanted player. Adjective. Being amused. Adverb. Sham gave up smoking. Okay, there again, adverb. Marshall insisted on all gerund on taking on the bus instead of the train. Walking is a habit. Gerunds are there. Running is like a flying bird. He saw a sleeping cat. All these are what? So what? Sleeping adverbs, gerunds, adjectives, or verbs. So this is how the non-finite verbs are. They never becomes the main verb. If you just go and see those that slide, you can see there is already the main verb there. Main verb in all those sentences are different, and whereas this comes added to that, and which forms the not the it doesn't take the position of verb, but it takes the position of adjective, gerunds, or adverbs. Okay, so that is all about non-finite verb. Now we are going to see one more type of verb which is called as compound verb. The reason why they are compound verbs is because they have got more than one word. A subject of the sentence has a verb that is made up of more than one word. The verb is called as the compound verb. There are several forms of compound. A prepositional verb. If you add a preposition, verb plus preposition. Believe in something, ask for something, rely upon something. This is called as prepositional verb. Now phrasal verbs are there. Now these are very important. You can see there are a lot of importance of this in English language, like which verb with an adverb or a preposition added. That is called as what? A phrasal verb. Tear up, take away, take down, work on. All these are examples. A verb with auxiliaries, verb preceded by an auxiliary. Was swimming, you know that will be considering. All these are cases of verb changes. A compound single word verb. Two words are connected with a hyphen. Double click, rely on. Did you double click the computer? Did you rely on him? Where away? And so all these are some examples of compound verbs. Now we are going to see some more examples of compound verbs. They are usually written with a hyphen, and you can see that they are written with a they are written with a hyphen pattern. Now noun plus verb, comma, that last type you have seen, skydive, Sean Pike, freeze drive, verb plus verb, double book. These are all overbook. All this you can use as in the form of compound verbs. Now here again, carbon copy, sky drive, fine tune, overbook, bad mouth. So carbon copy is noun plus verb, fine tune is adjective plus verb, overbook is participle plus verb, and bad mouth uh, is the adjective plus noun. So I hope that we will have a recap of what we have studied. So we have been seeing the different kinds of verbs. Altogether, you can classify the verbs into three different groups: the finite verb, the compound verb, and the non-finite verb. Finite verb is divided into principal verb, the linking verb, and auxiliary verb. Principal verb is the main verb, and this main verb can be, the finite verb itself can be of static verb or action verb, which is, or dynamic verb. But principal verb is divided into two types, that is transitive and intransitive. Both when it becomes an action verb, even the static verb can be having both transitive and intransitive. Now after principal verb, the finite verb has got two more divisions. The one is the linking verb and auxiliary verb. Linking verb, I told you, it is the main verb, or main auxiliary verb. If there is only one auxiliary verb in the sentence, you call it as the linking verb. Okay. Then the auxiliary verb or the helping verb of two types. One is the primary auxiliary, which doesn't have any meaning but just helping the main verb, and modal verb, which is also helping but has got the meaning, which changes the mood of the sentence. So that is all about finite verb. Then we have seen the infinite verbs. Infinite verbs doesn't make any change in the, or non-finite verbs doesn't make any change in the sentence. They are just show no tense. It's never the main verb of the sentence. They are just gerunds or participles or infinitives. Gerunds ends in ing form, and participles are adjective or adverbs, verbal adverbs or adjectives, and then the present participle and the past participle, which forms the helping verb. So that is the non-finite verb. Now in addition to this, we have another group, that is the compound verb. So compound verb is the verb which is made of two verbs together. As the verb is called a compound verb, which is made up of one word, okay, or it can be a prepositional verb, a verb plus a preposition, or a phrasal verb when an adverb or a preposition added to the verb, or when it's a verb with an auxiliary, or it can be a single worded verb which is differentiated by using a hyphen. So that is all about what you call about the recap. So we have seen all the kind of verbs in this sentence, different types of verbs: finite, non-finite, and compound. Hope you have understood everything about verbs. Thank you for watching this video. Please continue to watch the rest of the videos in this series. Thank you.